Welcome back to Case Briefs LSAT course. It's lesson 5. My name is Sean Murphy. Today we're going to be covering inferences and disagreement questions. Recall the problem we did in lesson 2 from June 2007, section 3, number 22. The question in which we diagrammed the relationships was about coffee prices. The question asked for an answer choice that followed logically from the statements above. This phrasing is one of the many ways the LSAT asks for an answer choice that must be true. If a question asks you for an inference, a deduction, or a valid conclusion, the question demands an answer that must be true. Let's take a look at some more must-be-true questions from your book of 10 prep tests. Let's start with Prep Test 52, that's September 2007, Section 1, number 5. We could diagram some of these relationships. Everyone in Biba's neighborhood is permitted to swim at the pool. If you're a child younger than 6, you can't swim between 12 and 5. From 5 till closing, only adults. So to swim from 5 till closing, you must be an adult. So we could diagram these relationships, but it actually didn't work to our advantage because the point of diagramming is to make deductions usually based on combining statements into longer chains. None of these statements can be combined, so while it's always good practice to diagram sufficient necessary statements when you see them, it doesn't always work to your advantage, and you'll develop a better sense as we move forward what kind of questions really benefit from a diagram. But we still have to understand this question. Everyone's permitted to swim at some time during the day, no child under 6 between 12 and 5, and after 5 it's only adults. So what must be true? Well, if we look at answer choice A, few children under the age of 6 live in Biba's neighborhood. I don't know if there's any children in Biba's neighborhood that are under 6. I do know that everyone's allowed to swim, and it doesn't look like there's much time that a kid under 6 could swim, but I don't know how many children there are in this neighborhood. Answer choice B, if Biba's next door neighbor has a child under 6, then Barton Pool is open before noon. That actually must be true because we know that everyone in Biba's neighborhood is permitted to swim at the pool. So if there is a child under 6 in the neighborhood, that child is allowed to swim in the pool, and therefore the only time that could happen would be before noon. With must-be-true questions, you can find an answer choice that's 100% true, and once you find that answer choice, you can move on. I'm not even going to look at C, D, and E because I'm 100% certain that B is correct. Let's take a look at another one. This is from Prep Test 53, Section 3, number 19. Pause the video and give this one a try. Okay, this question has a pretty interesting sufficient necessary relationship. We can say that if a textbook contains an essay by Knight, it will contain an essay by Jones. So if K, then J. We also know that we can't have all 3 of L, K, and J. It's kind of like a little logic game and a logical reasoning problem here. So if we have K, we definitely have J. So we can also say that K kicks out L. J, however, could go with L. But K definitely kicks out L, the contrapositive. L kicks out K. That kind of deduction is exactly what we need to find the right answer. And we see answer choice A, it's exactly what we've diagrammed. If L, then not K. So when you see those sufficient necessary relationships, diagramming is sometimes useful, sometimes not so much, but definitely always diagram in your early days of test prep. It's really good practice, and you'll develop a sense for when it's useful and when it's not. Here, this contrapositive led us directly to the correct answer. If we take a look at these other answer choices, B says there's only going to be one of these three, which doesn't need to be true. C tells me that there's going to be no night. Well, if there's an L, there's going to be no night, but there certainly could be a night without an L. If the textbook contains an L essay, it will definitely have an essay by Jones. No indication of that. And E tells me the essay or the textbook will contain an essay by Lind or L, but I don't know that. It certainly could be K and J or just J. So once again, correct answer is A. On the real test, I would see answer choice A, know that it must be true based on my diagram, pick it and move on. Let's take a look at another problem, Prep Test 53, Section 1, Number 7. Pause the camera and try this one. The second sentence can be diagrammed in this problem. Their use will never be feasible unless there is a substance that superconducts at a temperature above minus 148. So with unless, remember, we negate the sufficient. What the unless refers to goes in necessary. So unless refers to, it's kind of a complicated phrase, but superconducts above minus 148. All right, that's the necessary condition. It's an awkward diagram. Sufficient, economically feasible. So if superconductors will be economically feasible, we'll find something that superconducts above negative 148. If this can happen, it's got to be niobium or germanium. But actually, they're not even going to cut it. They superconduct at temperatures no higher than minus 160. So this condition will never be met because this condition can never be met. Superconductors will never be economically feasible. The correct answer is answer choice A. Now you might have heard me say a little bit about something about strong language. And strong language can be very problematic for a must-be-true question, because the weaker a statement is, the easier it is to prove. But don't be so skeptical of strong language that you miss an answer choice like answer choice A, because the language in the stimulus is very strong. We see in the second sentence will never be economically feasible. We know that these elements cannot superconduct above minus 160. So we can definitely say that superconductors will never be economically feasible. Must-be-true questions often have very strong language in the correct answer because the stimulus itself, the passage contains strong language.